Trojan Philly, what's up, man? USCJ here. It's the top of the morning. It's the top of the morning. Listen, I hope everybody is getting ready to get up, get out, and make some things happen this morning. Listen, the 2023 USC football depth chart is out. And look, for the most part, it's pretty consistent with some of the things that we're saying, but then some that we've been saying. But then there is a couple of shockers on this. We're gonna take a look at. We're gonna jump right into this. But if I had one major shocker, just from skimming through it, I just skimmed through it. Michael Jackson III is not on this list. However, I know the way the receivers are going to be rotated. I know he'll be in there somewhere, but to me, that is an immediate shocker. I mean, to not even be on listed as second string, maybe it's an editing problem. I don't know, but let's get into this list, man. You guys hit me in the comment section. You guys already know where you can find me. It's going to be USCJ32 on Instagram, USCJ32 on Twitter. Let's take a look at this information real quick. Let's go.
All right, so this is officially the depth chart, and we're going to go through it. Now, one thing I want you guys to keep in mind, as I did somewhat semi-review this, but I did want to give an actual reaction at the same time. I just kind of skimmed through it, but, I was somewhat lost in the sauce. But look, here is what I think is going on. What I think is happening is that they're trying to keep everybody fresh, and I think John Walker, J-Walk, last week he was on my show. He says, you're going to see a roster. If you guys remember this, he said, we're going to see a roster that's going to kind of keep everybody pretty much fresh. This wasn't his words verbatim, but he was talking about rotation and different packages. And I think that's what we're going to see, because when you look at this depth chart right now, when you look at it, I don't think it's as expected as a lot of people would think it. But look, this is directly from USC Athletics site. So here it is. We'll go through it real quick. Let's take a look and see exactly what's going on. So look, when you look at the wide receiver position, you see it off the top. You see the beginning. And remember, anybody's name by it that says, like we see Kyron Hudson, and then we see Brandon Rice. We see that or in the middle, that any one of them at any time could start. You remember they essentially couldn't decide between the two. So it's going to be Kyron Hudson or Brandon Rice, either one. But those are going to be the clear 1A and 1B as far as the starters are concerned. So you see those two there. And then directly below him, you see Deuce Robinson. He's essentially going to be the number 2. So for wide receiver, you're going to see it. I guess that's going to be the outside receiver. You're going to see Kyron Hudson or Brandon Rice. That's going to be one. And then Deuce Robinson is going to be the clear number 2. Next, the next receiver, probably the other outside receiver is going to be Mario Williams. I don't see that or by there, which is letting me know that it's going to be Taj Washington, Zachariah Branch, Raleek Brown. Those guys are going to be behind Mario Williams. So I don't see an or by there. So you got Mario Williams leading out with that position. I guess the outside receiver. And then you got Taj and Zach and Raleek behind them. So moving on to left tackle. Of course, you guys already know we've been hearing about Jonah Monheim. Jonah Monheim is that guy that's going to get the nod on that. But Jonah Monheim is going to be the left tackle, and followed by him, second string is going to be Elijah Page. We've pretty much been hearing about that. We've been hearing about that since spring, as far as how well Elijah Page was doing. So that's kind of expected. Now, this is kind of interesting right here. Left guard, you got Emmanuel Pregna. We've been hearing about him, the transfer that came from Wyoming. He's going to be in there at left guard. And the interesting thing about that is you got Eleni Noah. We've been hearing about Eleni Noah coming on very, very, very strong. And so I think it's a very telling thing. Eleni Noah, as a freshman, they were talking about how violent he was. And apparently he's been extremely violent, because we absolutely can see it moving and grooving here. Now, Justin Dedich, as far as the center, he's the starting center. And an amazing thing about that, let me go back to Emmanuel Pregna and Eleni Noah. This says left guard, Emmanuel Pregna, Eleni Noah. That's an or. So that's either one of those guys can start, just like we said with Brandon Rice and Kyron Ware. So Eleni Noah's all in the mix right now. And and then you got the center, you got Justin Dedich. and then you got Kalen O'Connor. So that's a clear number one and number two. And number three and then okay at right guard you're gonna have Jared Kingston, Gino Canonez, and you see that's a clear number one. Jared Kingston starting the transfer that came from Washington State. That's pretty much expected. His experience. And then you got Gino right below him, and of course Michael Turquin, right tackle, and then Mason Murphy. So I guess they kind of came up with a conclusion because we did hear both were kind of battling it out. And it's a possibility Mason Murphy can get the nod as well. But it looks like Michael Turquin was able to get in there and move and groove with that. Tight end, you got Lake McCree, you got Jude Wolf, and then of course you got Carson Tabarachi. So that's a clear number one, two, and three right there. So for the other receiver, we see it clearly here. They got Dorian Singer, and they did say Makai Lemon was coming on strong. And apparently he must have been coming on very strong because it looks like they got Dorian Singer, Makai Lemon, and Jacoby Lane. Now, let me say one thing I can say about these receivers is that each receiver is going to they're going to get in the game. The rotation is going to be crazy. Lincoln Riley likes to use multiple receivers. So as far as they're concerned, as I'm concerned with them, we don't have to worry about receivers. They don't have to worry about it. There's plenty of guys that's going to get in. I think this roster is created to have depth and keep the depth fresh. And so and then of course we're going down to the quarterbacks. We got Miller, we got Caleb, Miller, and Malachi. That's to be expected. So running backs, you got Austin Jones or Marshawn Lloyd, which means either one of those guys can start. They're not really sure how that's going to go, but either one of those guys can start. It's one of those and or. And so you see Darwin Barlow, the clear number 3 on there. And then you got Joyner. Joyner is going to be number 4, but Joyner is really number 3 because you got the and or between Jones and Marshawn Lloyd. So they're 1A and 1B. Darwin's like number 2, and Joyner is going to be number 3. You only have 3 deep going on here, so you don't even see a Marion Peterson on here. But trust me, Marion's in the mix. And by the way, you got freshman Michael Benuelas as well. You don't see the 4 deep on here, so we go see some guys freshman wise that are not on here right now. But hey, we don't have to worry about that. Now rush in. This thing is kind of tricky when you're talking about these. Rush in is Anthony Lucas or Jamil Muhammad. I think Anthony Lucas is going to play more defensive end, but we'll take a look at that. But you got Anthony Lucas or Jamil Muhammad, so you got the 1A, 1B. Number 2 rush in is going to be Braylon Shelby. Wow, that's amazing. So we don't even see Sam Green over here with the rush ins. We already knew that Jamil Muhammad, we knew that Braylon Shelby, and we knew that Anthony Lucas was somewhat working his way over there, but we don't even see no Sam Green over there. D tackle, you got Jack Sullivan, and then you got Stanley Tufu. And Stanley looked like he's at that number 2 at the D tackle, and then you got Elijah Hughes, 6'3", 270. So we knew that Jack Sullivan, transfer that came in from Purdue, we knew there was a possibility with his frame that he can get in there at some D tackle. Now, here's where it gets very interesting as well. Some of us had Bear Alexander at the D tackle. Some of us had Keon Bars at the nose tackle. But this is interesting. You got Keon Bars right here at the nose tackle. But I think it's more of a 1A, 1B. They're going to be rotating these guys out. If you notice that right here, Keon Bars and Bear Alexander. Look at the top here. It says or. Once again, it has that or by it. So Keon Bars and Bear Alexander are both going to be rotating out, and you gotta have that if you want to stay healthy. And I hope everybody that sees this really understands that it's about being healthy and maintaining health right now, because USC did not do that last year. So when you look at it here, you got that going here. Now, you got Dejon Benton. He's really number 2. When you're talking about the defensive, the nose tackle. And then you got Tyrone Taleni. So Dejan worked his way in there. Because they got Barron and Keon Bars at the 1A and 1B because they got the OR in there. So now moving on to the defensive ends, we look like we got Solomon Byrd starting. Solomon Byrd is not a surprise. However, we did think he was going to the rush end spot, but they got him at the defensive end spot, which is somewhat surprising. Let me go back to see Ramillo Height. Ramillo Height is not even over by the rush ends anymore, which is man, they just flipped the script totally on that. I guess they got certain guys. Now let me tell you, we talk about rush in, when you're talking about rush in, you're talking about somebody who can drop back in coverage. You got to have that ability to drop back in coverage in the event because it's just the outside linebacker. But you got Solomon Byrd starting at the D end. You got Ramillo Height starting second string, 6'3", 230 at the D end. And then you got Corey Foreman followed by him. So it's just, I think, and then you'll see a lot of Corey Foreman and Ramillo Height switching out with each other. And then moving on to the will linebacker. Will linebacker is going to be Tackett's getting the start. We kind of heard this. We kind of heard rumblings about this. At the will linebacker, Tackett's get the starts. I personally don't think Eric Gentry's all the way healthy. I think he's going to work his way back in. But on the flip side, I've been hearing about Tackett Curtis doing a phenomenal job, an absolutely phenomenal job. So you got Tackett Curtis, you got Eric Gentry, and then you got Rajon Davis, all right there. It is going to be some rotation going on. So for those who are kind of surprised, don't be too surprised. It's going to be packages for all these guys to get in. And then you got Mason Cobb and Shane Lee with Mike linebacker. Mason getting a nod, and then Shane Lee coming in there. And they're going to be packages as well for Shane Lee, situational stuff as well. So I think, it's going to create a lot of depth. It's creating way more depth for us. So there's some other guys I don't see on here like Chris Thompson Jr., Garrison Madden. So we got other depth, but we're just going really the ones and twos and threes at this point. And so when you're talking about the safety, it looks like Jalen Smith is getting a nod as a start. Christian Roland Wallace looks like he's going to get the second spot. And Christian Pierce for the nickel, he's getting the third spot. So Jalen Smith, Christian Roland Wallace, and Christian Pierce. That right there alone is going to throw some of us off as well because Christian Roland Wallace could have been at a cornerback spot, but we'll look at that as well. But Jalen Smith it looks like he won the battle. Cornerback, Sierra Wright. He's getting a nod. We've been hearing he's doing phenomenal things inside of camp. This is what it's looking like, man. Christian Roland Wallace is going to get the second spot. And it's going to be Christian Roland Wallace or Prophet Brown. So apparently Prophet Brown has been getting his ball on as well. Now, here's where it gets very interesting because at free safety, Max Williams, and I think Coach alluded to that, League Riley, Max Williams has been getting his ball on, absolutely getting his ball on. Max Williams is going to looks like, get the nod at free safety. Now, you guys remember I told you that free safety, that spot is open. I mean, it wasn't something that was secure. We've been hearing about Zion Branch, but it looks like Bryson Shaw and Max Williams are 1A and 1B because it has that or in the middle. So Max Williams or Bryson Shaw, and then you've got that followed by Zion Branch. Now, one of the other spots that's really been consistent, though, that we pretty much know about is Caleb Bullock, of course, but then you got Anthony Beavers. That's been consistent. Anthony Beavers being right there with Caleb Bullock, pretty much been consistent all across the board. You kind of knew that was going to happen. And then Christian Pierce is right there as well. And then the last one we're going to see here, or cornerback-wise, we're going to see Damani Jackson and Jacoby Covington. Those two guys connected and paired up 1 and 2. It's a battle, man. Like, look, one of the thing about this depth chart that we got to understand is, and there's several guys that you could think of. I seen no Sam Green on this, no Sam Green on this list at all, and that's amazing because I know that Sam Green did start off in the spring pretty good, but of course you got guys. Remember, as we stated, we said we got to give guys an opportunity like Braylon Shelby, these guys that hadn't been here, and even Elijah Hughes. You guys remember me talking about that, and I said these guys weren't here, so they hadn't got a real opportunity to get in there. But think about this: those guys, Sam Green. I mean, I think all those guys will be given an opportunity. I mean, it's going to be major rotation going on, man. So, look, man, this is the depth chart. We wanted to go through this. I was going to take the day off, but wanted to get you guys this information, man. So, look, this is it. Until later on, listen, everybody stay blessed. Drop those comments down below. Let me know what are your thoughts on this depth chart, man. Let me know what are you thinking as it relates to this, man. Are you guys surprised? Anybody surprised? Hit me in the comments. Let me know. USCJ32 on Instagram, USCJ32 on Twitter. Fight on, fight on, fight on.